Hey guys, this is Grekaosangel and welcome to an updated video collection of my video games. This is my video game shelf that I'm going to be panning through. I'm just going to pan up and down, show you all the video games that I happen to have on my shelves. I'll go ahead and let you know which one is each. And I'm pretty sure all my video games that are in physical form are on this shelf right here. So let's start with the very top shelf. This is all of my PlayStation 1 games. Starting here on the farmost left, we have the Final Fantasy Origins Black Label. It contains Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Next over is Final Fantasy Tactics. I have the case, I don't have the CD. I let a friend borrow it, never got it back, but I do own it for the PlayStation Network. Moving on is Final Fantasy Chronicles Greatest Hits, as well as Tactics. Chronicles contains Final Fantasy IV and Chrono Trigger. Next is Final Fantasy Anthology Greatest Hits. This contains Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy VI. Then, of course, I have the Greatest Hits of Final Fantasy VII, as well as a Black Label Misprint of Final Fantasy VII. It's the famous Misprint error with the I juxtaposed in Masterpiece. I have Final Fantasy VIII Greatest Hits, Final Fantasy IX Greatest Hits, which is actually the one next to it is my Black Label Final Fantasy IX. It's the first PlayStation game I actually ever owned. I got it for my I think for my 12th birthday. I got a PlayStation 1, not the original, but the smaller, scaled down white version. And my parents got me Final Fantasy IX and a memory card, and the rest is history. Next we have The Legend of Dragoon, Greatest Hits, very good game. One of my favorite RPGs on the PlayStation. Next one over is Brave Fencer Musashi, Black Label. It also comes with the demo for Final Fantasy VIII. Black Label Inuyasha, a Feudal fairy tale. It's a sort of a 2D fighter based around the Inuyasha anime. Next is Chrono Cross, Greatest Hits. And finally, Black Label Gauntlet Legends. My personal preference, if you've seen my Let's Play of the PlayStation 1 Gauntlet Legends, I prefer the N64 version. I just have a case for my memory cards, my original memory cards. And then I've been getting into the habit of picking up the Japanese versions of some of the Final Fantasies. I have here Final Fantasy VII International. It is it's the third iteration where there's no back. There's the front, but nothing on the back, no back cover art. But I managed to get Final Fantasy VII International, Tactics, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IX, and of course Final Fantasy VII, all in one good, in one big kind of set for like, I'm trying to remember, I think it was for less than $80. So they're all worth like $15 each. But the creme de la creme, my favorite out of these Japanese versions, is my Final Fantasy IX. I have two copies of this, but this one is special in that it is, if I can get this zoomed up close enough, it is still 100% in original wrapping with the Y-fold and the PlayStation, if I can get this right, tear strip at the bottom. It's never been opened. So it cost a pretty penny, but it's still worth quite a bit, I think. And that's my PlayStation 1 collection, of course, not including the PlayStation Classics on my PS3, and that's not something I'm going to go into. Alright, moving on down, I have my PlayStation 2, my PSP, and my Wii, Nintendo Wii games. Starting over here on the left, I have the Black Label of Devil May Cry, the Greatest Hits version of Devil May Cry 2 and Devil May Cry 3. Devil May Cry 3 is, of course, the special edition. The rest of these Black Labels, beyond that, would be Disgaea Hour of Darkness, Disgaea 2 Cursed Memories. Both of these I have on the PSN, and I've actually played them on the PSN. I haven't actually played any any memory card or any saves on the PlayStation 2 version, just my PS3 for the PS2 classics. Next is Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. The worst game in the compilation of Final Fantasy VII by far. There's a reason why Square Enix is not known for their shooters. Of course, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi. I had some other Budokai games. Long story short, I've gotten rid of them or lost them over the time to friends or other various methods of losing things as you do over time. I still want to get rid of that, but it's a good game to have nonetheless. Of course, Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy X-2, Final Fantasy XII, and both of the Full Metal Alchemist video games. The first one is The Broken Angel, and the second one is Curse of the Crimson Elixir. Personally, the second one's better. It has like an RPG element. It's really cool. Beyond that, we have the Greatest Hits version of God of War, the Black Label version of God of War 2, Black Label of Eco, and if you've seen my way long ago, the review I did of Eco, it is, in my opinion, a masterpiece, not necessarily in the gameplay mechanics, but just in the pure storytelling elements, and the fact that if you want to make a good argument that video games are art, Eco is a prime candidate. Moving on, I have the Black Label versions of Inuyasha, The Secret of the Cursed Mask. I played the shit out of this game when I got it. If you haven't already told, if you've seen my anime collection and not my video game collection, you'll see I'm a big fan of Inuyasha. That's a good RPG. Moving on is the Inuyasha Feudal Combat. That is another fighter from the Inuyasha series. It's more of a cel-shaded 2D kind of fighter. It ain't half bad. Moving on from there is Kingdom Hearts Greatest Hits, Kingdom Hearts 2 Black Label Okami. Okami is, it's got such a rich story, and I've played the crap out of that game. And it's actually another one of those games where I haven't done a review of it, but it is definitely one of those things where this is art. That's just all there is to it. And it's a shame that it didn't sell as well, and Clover Studios had to shut its doors. But at least it's seen new life in the Wii version, which I don't have, as well as the HD version on the PlayStation Network. Of course, Shadow of the Colossus, Greatest Hits, and Unlimited Saga. I freaking hate this game. I haven't gotten past, I don't even know how far I got. Very, very, very short way into the story. It's just not for me, and it's worth nothing nowadays. Of course, you can't really see it. Well, maybe you can. No, you can't see this. I have actually Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII on PSP, as well as both of the Dissidia games. I did at one time have Valkyrie Profile Lilith, which is just a remake kind of port of the original Valkyrie Profile for the PlayStation 1. And I had both of the God of War PSP games. But, as you'll see when I get down to the next two shelves, I already have the God of War collection for the PlayStation 3 that has the PSP version, so ported over. So I traded those in. And of course, the very, very limited selection of the Wii games up here. I have Wii Sports Resort that came with the Wii when I bought it. The collector's or the limited edition of The Last Story comes with a nice art book. And of course, by Mistwalker, the game developer that is headed by our one and only Sakaguchi Hironobu, Hironobu Sakaguchi, the father of Final Fantasy. This feels like more of a Final Fantasy, even though it's got some weird mechanics, than any of the more recent Final Fantasies to date, which is a shame. Monster Hunter Tri, I've only played a couple hours of that. Muramasa, the Demon Blade, very similar to Odin Sphere, and I haven't quite gotten the way through Odin Sphere yet. I have it on the PS2 Classics on my PlayStation 3. I plan to get through it someday, sometime. And of course, the one of the three games that came over, I think The Last Story was the first one of them to be localized here in the States, and the second was Xenoblade Chronicles, which I never got my hands on, and I'm not paying $90+ for one. And the third game that I can't remember what the the project was. Some sort of petition. While Pandora's Tower was the other one. So that's something I really want to get into. It's just I don't have the time. And that's all for my Wii games. And moving on to the next shelf here. And there we go. Alright, now this is all the rest of this is going to be my PlayStation 3 games, and then some of my handhelds. Starting off on the left here, we have the regular edition of the 3D Dot Game Heroes from Software. Very much like a really cool kind of three-dimensional, blocky, pixelated Zelda game. Assassin's Creed 2. I haven't touched an Assassin's Creed game after the second one just because it's ridiculous, and there's so much to choose from that Ubisoft is just making Assassin's Creed the new Call of Duty. I'm sorry, I'm just not getting into it. Ashura's Wrath, the Game of the Year editions for both Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City. I have, after that, BlazBlue Continuum Shift Extend, the Collector's Edition. I'm not very good with fighter games in the kind of arcade style, but it seemed like an interesting game, and I could get it real cheap, so I picked it up for like $20. Next is Bleach Soul Resurrection, or Resurrection. It's actually produced. I can't remember who developed it, but I know that Nippon Ichi Software produced it, or at least brought it here locally. It's a fun sort of RPG kind of, arena kind of little mission thing with Bleach. It's kind of cool. Then, of course, we have Atlas's Catherine, really cool puzzle kind of RPG. Both of the Darksider games, greatest hits version of Demon Souls, regular edition of Dark Souls. I haven't gone very far in those. They're just too damn difficult, and I just don't have the time to pour hours and hours of dying over and over and over into them. But I got them nonetheless. Greatest hits of Dead Island, not the Game of the Year edition, or not the one that includes the DLC, just the regular edition. The Devil May Cry HD collection, as well as Devil May Cry 4 and the reboot DMC. DMC was not as bad as I was led to believe, but it's still They mishandled a lot of things with that game. Fun mechanics though, just messed up with the rest of the story. Of course, Disgaea 3, Absence of Justice, Disgaea 4, Promise Unforgotten, Disgaea D2, direct sequel to the first Disgaea game, Brighter Darkness, and Drakengard 3. Have not played the original two Drakengards, and I've only gone through the first two Disgaea games, so I'm still working on the last three, and of course then, Nippon Ichi is working on Disgaea 5 for the PlayStation 4. That's just wonderful. I've got into the habit of picking up Nippon Ichi's premium / limited edition games that just kind of capture my eye, because they come with cool artwork and stuff like this. So this is Fairy Fencer F. It's a turn-based RPG. I've only played a couple hours, but I like it. I dig it. It reminds me of Tales of Exilia in a lot of ways. Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, of course the Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD remasters, the limited edition with the art book, and then of course Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, and Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. Now, while I can certainly make the case, and I have, that 13 is a decent Final Fantasy game in its own right, if you overlook some of the glaring faults, 13-2 and Lightning Returns, I don't even want to touch that. Not opening that can of worms. Alright. Kind of zoom in here, get the bottom there a bit. Alright. Starting here. The Steelbook of God of War Ascension. The weakest God of War franchise entry game in the series, obviously. But I got the limited edition, so I got really cool Kratos kind of figurine and all sorts of stuff. So that was worth it, I guess. The God of War Origins collection, which is the PSP versions, just ported over to the PS3. Chains of Olympus, and Ghost of Sparta. The God of War Collection 1 and 2 remastered. God of War 3, the Echo and Shadow of the Colossus collection as well, as this ports and kind of spruced up versions of Echo and Shadow of the Colossus. Infamous collection. I already got, when Sony got hacked, that I think what people were calling it like Apocalypse with the PS3 logo at the end. Infamous was one of those games that you could get for free. I got it for free. And then I managed to pick up the collection to play the remainder of the series. Of course, the Journey collection from what's the developer? Is it that game company? I think it's the lead developer is Genova Chin. He did Flow and Flower and Journey, of course. Journey is another one of those games where it's really short, very quick, not a whole lot happening, but its execution is sort of video game as art kind of argument. Of course, we have The Last of Us. Really awesome game. Really awesome game. Not Game of the Year edition, just regular edition. Really cool. Star Wars Legos, The Complete Saga. First game I bought when I bought my original PlayStation 3. Let's see here. Little Big Planet. Haven't played the second or the third one yet. Mirror's Edge. Decent enough game. Looking forward to the sequel. Prince of Persia. Now, I had never played a Prince of Persia game before this one, so I don't really have expectations. But I like this reboot, and it's a shame they didn't do too much with it. The Sly Collection, which is Sly Cooper 1, 2, and 3, and then of course Sly Cooper 4, Thieves in Time. Then Soul Calibur 4 and 5. Next to that is Star Ocean: The Last Hope International. Can't really get into it, not because it's bad or anything. It plays a lot like the Tales games. It's just, I can't stand not being able to quick save or have to go like an hour and a half between save points. It's a pain. Then, of course, we have Tales of Exilio 1 and 2. I just started Exilio 2. I really dig the first game. As far as my first foray into the Tales series, it was fun. I liked it. Of course, why not Chronicles 2, which contains the complete remaster of the first game. The first game was a little bit better than the second, but I like it all the same. Level 5 did a good job with that. And of course, another Nippon Ichi software game that I was really looking forward to playing, considering how much I like Disgaea and stuff, but I haven't even tried it because of the glitch where it keeps kicking you back to the cross media bar. It's The Witch and the 100 Knight. And one of these days I'll probably sit through and get all the way through it, but as far as I know, Nippon Ichi Japan, or at least Nippon Ichi Software America, has decided that they can't fix the bug. So it doesn't happen on their developer consoles, so they can't pinpoint it. So it's a shame that support for that game has really kind of gone downhill. And of course, finally, the very bottom there, if I can, not knock over my camera as I bend down here. I have Game Boy Color, Pokemon Silver, complete in box. The Japanese version of Silver, complete in box. Both two versions of it actually. One box isn't as in nice a condition. I plan on selling it one of these days. Pokemon Soul Silver, Final Fantasy III, The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass, Mario Kart, Okami Den, which is the direct sequel to Okami. Not as good as the original, of course. Soul Silver, as I already mentioned. The Prince of Persia, The Fallen King. Direct tie-in to the Prince of Persia reboot. Sadly, again, they just didn't take it far enough. And of course, Pokemon Y. And of course, for Christmas this year, I'm also planning on picking up for the 3DS Bravely Default and the remake of Ruby, Omega Ruby. And you can't see over here, but I also have my original Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Shadowgate Classic, of course. Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Silver, I've got a lot of silver, and Pokemon Sapphire and Pokemon Crystal. And of course my Game Boy SP and Game Boy Advanced. And that's about it. Yeah, I think that's it. That's my collection. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Grekaosangel. I will see you on my next collection video, which I believe I'm going to do of, well, you'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure I'll figure it out. Thanks for watching. I'm Grekaosangel. See you next time. Later.